Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Buddy Study Group. And we have a veteran presenter here to join us today, and Diane Stoddard. And Diane's going to have a topic for us that we've never discussed before, but she proposed this to me, and I thought it was a really interesting idea, and that's what to do in your business downtime or when sales and activity are low. And I thought this was an awesome topic because it's something that everyone experiences. I think if I were to have a show of hands of who's ever had a lull period, it would just be liars with their hands down. So I think there's still a lot of things that you can do during those down periods to make sure that you're efficient and to keep yourself in a good mindset, right? The insurance business, especially long-term care, is super, super cyclical. So it's really all about how we handle that downtime. And Diane's got some really good tips and ideas for us. So, Diane, thank you so much for the time with everyone today, and you can take it right away.
All right. Well, I don't want this to be just me. So if anybody else has ideas of things that they're doing during a downtime, let's talk about that too, because it's not just, hey, here's what works, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So somebody else's idea might work good for somebody else in the group as well. But I need to let you know that 2024 was the best year I've had in a long time. And I think it might have been my best year ever until October, and everything like just almost stopped. I had a couple of sales in November. December was normal. January was really light, and February starting to seem like it was a little better, but nothing like the last few years. It's been really weird. Like why are there not the people that I need to have in front of me? I don't understand it. But what we can see is that we're seeing these headlines, right? We're seeing layoffs in government. We're seeing large corporations lay people off. People are afraid to make big financial decisions when they don't know if their job is secure or their future is secure. And we need to appreciate that in the market today because there's a lot of scared people out there. They want to plan, but they're afraid. And then we have to think about the hurricanes and the fires that affected people. And I have to tell you, I'm in Tampa, Florida, and it's now March. And we didn't get any damage where we are in our area, but on the beaches, the insurance money is just now starting to come in for these businesses and these families to rebuild their homes. And some of them just had to give up and leave. And it's been 6 months. So there's a lot of people on pause right now, and we have to respect that as well. But we need to stay with them because we get through this cycle or these cycles, right? The weather and the layoffs and stuff, these people are going to come back, and we want them to come back to us when it's time. So what can we do to make sure that that happens? Well, when sales are down, this is what we start doing, right? We ask, are we doing something different? And we need to go back to what we did before. Like, what did we change that we shouldn't have changed? Or are we asking ourselves, are we still doing the same things when we should be doing something different? So we're driving ourselves crazy trying to figure out how come stuff isn't working, right? So we need a process or a system to follow so that we don't give up. And we need to know that that system or that process is going to work. And those of us who have been in this industry for a couple of decades or more, we've seen it happen before. This isn't new, right? In the 1999, 2000, people were freaking out because the computers were all going to shut down, so nobody wanted to do anything. And then we had the real estate crash, and then we had the dot-com crash, and then we had this crash and that crash. And this environment that we're in is another cycle that we just need to get through. And when we get through it, by staying within our process, it will come back. It always comes back, and it'll come back stronger because it always comes back stronger if we stay in our zone, in our process. So we need to develop and maintain that system or process that works for us in the good times and in the bad. And I'll tell you, every process is going to be different. What works for one person might not be effective at all for another. So I would like people to share in the chat what you're doing to stay in front of more people, because one thing that one person does might be that one thing that helps somebody else. So, don't let this just be me saying, here's this what I do, because I'm not that good. So, but one of the things we need to realize, and just going way off topic. This is baseball season starting, right? We need to remind ourselves that long-term care planning in sales is just like baseball. If we hit 300, we're really good, right? If we hit 200, we're pretty good. So that means we're hitting the ball 20% or 30% of the time. That means 70 to 80% of the people that we're talking to are not going to happen for whatever reason. It could be because of their health. It could be because they just don't have the money. They didn't know it would cost money to have insurance. Their financial planner got in the way. They're in denial that anything will ever happen. When they see a big price tag, they're going to be more in denial, saying, oh, well, never mind. I'm not going to pay for that because it's never going to happen anyway. Those people are out there. That's the 70 or 80% that we just get frustrated with. But we don't give up, right? We go to bat again, and then we go to bat again, and then we go to bat again, and we strive to keep learning and growing and making these adjustments as needed to improve our batting average, because otherwise we should just give up and go home, and we're not that kind of people. So, some things that need to be in place before a down season hits, or stuff that you can start doing now so that it's not going to affect us as badly the next time. One thing that I just pound on myself too and everyone else is take really good notes and take them right after the conversation that you had, because if you wait till the next morning to document something, you're gonna leave stuff out and you're gonna miss that stuff that's gonna be the close of that sale. So as soon as you get done talking to them, send what you need to send them and take those notes. And it's not just notes on health and what products you discussed, right? We need to know and we need to remember what might be holding them up from making these decisions. Right now, today, it's spring break, especially in Florida. It's really spring break. Traffic is horrible. But I can tell you every March and early April, I can't believe how many people I'm talking to and they say, "Well, my grandkids are coming to visit, so we're going to just lay off on this for a little while," or "I'm going to visit my kids in Texas," or "I'm doing this and we're not going to talk about it right now." And so then they're waiting. And then guess what? Graduation is just a couple months away and they're going to do it to us again. It might not be the same person doing it, but it's going to happen again. Now, some other things that could happen would be maybe one spouse is 62 and the other is 78. Maybe something happened at home and they just didn't think to tell us. We don't know. But things happen. Or things that we also can know about. Do they have kids in college? Is there a potential graduation coming up soon? Or is there money that might come free in a couple of years and we can be patient and hold on till then? Is mom or dad moving in with them or moving into assisted living or applying for Medicaid? These things are causing them to put us on hold because these are urgent things. Are they going out of town for a wedding? Is it their kid's wedding? That's going to take even more of their time, right? And energy. Are they trying to sell their mom's house and having frustrations with that because mom just died or mom just moved into assisted living and they're selling the house? All these things are going to put us on the back burner, and we need to know that and we need to respect that. So or are they 45 years old and they're just curious? Those are the ones that frustrate me the most. It's like, this is the best time for you to do this while it's still cheap. And they don't because they're just curious. But when we're calling and staying in touch with these people, we need to show them that we paid attention and we need to ask about those things first that we know about, because what we don't want is that every message that they hear from you is, "Are you ready to buy yet?" Because they're not going to answer the phone and they're not going to call you back if that's what they're hearing. So you need to have other things to talk about when you're leaving messages or sending an email, just to show them that you're paying attention. Now, when times are tough, we need to pause, right? We need to step back and think about what worked in the past. What could we do to make things work again? Or is it that we just need to be patient? Because a lot of times that's what it is we just need to be patient. We need to be diligent. We need to stick with it, whatever we're doing. We need to be thankful for where we're at and what we're able to do to help people and help ourselves and our family. And we need to be available so that when that person calls and needs us, we're ready to help them and we're not in this frustrated cycle of yuckness. I can't even think of another word, but we need to be ready for these people. One thing that you can do that every once in a while I just like to do is reach out to those clients that love me the most. That woman that calls me her angel every time I talk to her, she's going to rebuild my mental strength when I'm frustrated with all these other people. And we're going to have a nice conversation. And she probably talks longer than I want her to, but I know that I'm going to come away with something good inside me because I helped her maybe 10 years ago and she's still completely thankful. That's the people you need to be talking to when you're feeling bad. Talk with other agents like we're doing now. You know, who else is struggling? I've talked to a couple of the other people that I work with, and there's more than two or three of us that are in this boat right now. So that tells me, well, it's not just me. I don't feel like I'm the only one in this position right now. There's other people that are having these troubles. And then what Jason said earlier is we need to understand that long-term care is cyclical. It's not going to it's moves all the time. One of the things that I always keep reminding myself is, and sometimes when people ask me, how can you stay doing this? I'm like, people that have a lot of money and wealth, they believe they can self-fund when the markets are up, right? When the markets turn downward, they get nervous, and that's when they start looking to insurance to protect their wealth. So they're reaching out to us in the down times. The people with less money and wealth are tending to buy more insurance when the market is increasing because they feel they have more buying power. So it's two different mentalities, and we need to know who each one of these are when we're talking to them. Are they the going to get, and on the downside, are they coming to us, or on the upside, are they coming to us? Because they're everywhere. We just need to know who they are. Um, and then another thing we need to do is decide who we're going to continue to chase. And I say chase because sometimes that's what we're doing is chasing these people. You know, that 45-year-old curious person may not do anything for several years, but we had a good conversation when I first talked to them. I want to be the person they remember when the time comes. So I'm going to stay in touch with them from time to time until they get to that point and say, hey, it's time for me to start looking at long-term care. I better call Diane. Or that 55-year-old whose mom just moved in is going to be at a point to start planning someday when mom moves into assisted living or unfortunately when mom dies. I want that person to remember me when the time comes. I'm not just going to blow them off for the next 5 years and call them back out of the blue and say, hey, how's your mom doing? Oh, she died 3 years ago. You know, that's just not good sense. Now, that 72-year-old with diabetes and a scheduled surgery coming up and 8 medications, maybe not going to chase them as hard, right? Unless they're in a financial position to maybe do an Equitrust type annuity or a short-term plan if they're not in that financial position, but only if they're still communicating, right? If they're not, if the 72 or the 75-year-old is not calling me back, I'm tired. I'm going to stick with that 55-year-old who I know in 4 or 5 years is going to be 59 and still at a good age to be able to do something.
Yeah, Diane, I
So,
want to hammer one of the things home that
yeah.
you've kind of said, and it's been a kind of a theme throughout this, because this is something you do better than anyone I know. And I want to make sure that people understand this, is that I think you guys can tell from what Diane's saying and from previous study groups that she's done, in case you haven't been able to be on them. Diane is deeply interested in every single client situation that she talks to, and that's not, ulterior motive. There is a level of empathy there that I think she has that everyone can learn from. Because I heard a saying, I don't know where I heard it from, but in order to be interesting to someone, you have to be interested, and I think Diane really kind of embodies that. And the outreach that she does is based on being really, really thoughtful, taking good notes. And when she reaches out, like she says, she is not just that intrusive salesperson who's asking if you're ready to buy again. She is actually keeping track of your situation and using her system in a really smart way to make sure that she is following up with you relative to a situation that has nothing to do with the sale of insurance that she wants to check in with you on. I think that goes so far. If somebody can know that you are interested in their situation and interested in them as a person and wanting the best for them outside of the realm that your primary discussion is taking place in, that goes so far. And that's what really helps Diane in downtime is she is taking so many of those notes and getting so many of those people into her system that she always has really good, caring, reasons to reach out or to provide good news. So I just wanted to like hammer that down because that to me is like one of the most important pieces of what makes Diane so successful.
More successful in sometimes than others, apparently.
Well, that's all of us, right?
But but things are good. So yeah, so communication is the key, right? You need to understand these people. They want to be understood. They want to know that you're paying attention. It's that it's not just about you. But if again, if they're not communicating, there's things you can do there too. But if one of the hardest things I think is when we get to a struggling place, we're so looking to make that next sale to feel like, oh my God, I need to get this back. Where is it? And you move too quick and then something bad happens. Either they feel pushed and they change their mind, or you went too soon and they're declined because you didn't ask enough questions. These things happen. And but when people tell you they need more time, the ones that are serious are going to tell you why they need more time, right? They're going to say, well, my son and his wife are coming to visit, and we're going to talk to her mom about putting her mom in assisted living, and there's going to be a lot going on, and I can't focus on me right now. Well, that's a valid reason for them to need more time because they have a more urgent need than themselves. So, stick with them, but at the same time, remind them that age and health are the important factors, that we can wait if we have to, but if something happens and I can't help you, or I can't help you as well as I could if we did something today, I don't want to have to feel bad about that. So I make sure that they know, yes, we can wait if you need to wait. And I appreciate that, but just know that here's some of the possible consequences of waiting. And that way now you're not the bad guy later, when they say, well, I just had a TIA, and you're like, oh, well, now we have to wait another, what, 12 months or something, but you told them when they needed to wait that this was something that could happen. So another thing that I'm seeing a lot more of is older people. And I talked to Mike Simonstead yesterday too. He's getting a lot of calls at NGL of scared older people looking for solutions because they never looked before. And gosh, it's just frustrating because too many advisors and agents are just going to just complete an application in hopes of getting paid without considering the consequences of the declines, right? Some of those consequences is maybe that person could have qualified for something somewhere else if you took a little more time or if they waited a few more months. And on the agent side, the selfish side, the persistency gets destroyed because you get too many declines by helping people too quickly. So you want to be there's that patience coming in. Just you want to make that next sale, but you want to do it right to make sure that everybody wins. So what else? Here's something. Yeah. So when you're working with someone, a prospect, you need to tell yourself what to do next and when, and then you need to do it. That's one of the hardest things to do. So you get off the phone or you leave a message for someone and you think, "Oh, I should have talked about that too." Make a note to yourself, hey, next time you call, make sure to bring this up. Or in 2 weeks, send an article about that. Or text, remind yourself to text to see how mom's doing because mom just got put in the hospital or something. So tell yourself what to do, set it for the date that you want to do it. And then when you see it, do it because you told yourself to do it. You have to trust yourself that you knew what you were thinking at the time, the last time you talked to him or left a message, and then do it. And then another thing that I started doing, gosh, I don't know, so many years ago, I got so frustrated with the people that never reply, and I still want to reach out to them because I know there's a potential there somewhere. You got to separate them from the people who are working with you. So what I do is I put all my non-responders on Sunday because I don't work on Sunday. So I know if that person is on a Sunday, I can reach out to them anytime during that week. Or if I'm really busy, I can probably reach out to them the next week and they won't know any different because we didn't schedule anything. But I know I don't have to burden my day down with having them mixed in with all of my other people that I'm working with because it's frustrating when you don't get responses from people. So I'll email them, I'll text them, I'll send an article, I'll do something. Now, for people that are young enough and healthy enough, but they ghosted you, like they're just disappearing and you're never going to see them again. I put these people on Sunday every 3 months. So I know, and these are the ones that I'm pretty sure they're probably not going to do anything unless a serious event comes up and hits them in the face. I'm going to touch them every 3 months with something, a phone call, an article, a text, an email, something relevant to the conversations that we've had. That way, I'm not driving myself nuts trying to move them, and they're not interfering with the rest of my work or my attitude. Because the last thing we want is to be just frustrated with non-responder, 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 non-responder. Oh, I have an appointment now. And you're just in this worse mood because everybody's just ignoring you. And now you get the person on the phone that could be really good and you're mentally not there. So I just move all of them to Sunday. And then when I have some spare time, it's Wednesday morning and I have somebody didn't show up. Oh, I have an extra hour. I'm going to send an email to 5 or 6 people. So then they're not interfering with my world, but I am hopefully contributing to theirs. So, and then here's a long time ago, Jason, you said a long time ago. This is a long time ago for me. Somebody said, and I think it might have been Bill Comfort, but I'm not sure. Somebody said, once someone learns that long-term care is a thing, and this is long-term care, not long-term care insurance, right? This is Susie going to Thanksgiving dinner and watching her sister-in-law cut her mother-in-law's food and help her mother-in-law eat and say, "Wow, what the heck is up with that?" It takes Susie on average 5 to 7 years before that person even mentions this to their advisor or reaches out to an agent. 5 to 7 years from the time they notice that long-term care is a thing. So we need to understand that when they do finally reach out to us, they're cautious. We need to respect this. They don't want to be sold. They don't want to be scared into buying something. It took them 5 or 7 years to even reach out to us. They want to be understood and heard, and they want to make their own decisions. Long-term care insurance is often very new to them, and they deserve the time to process these decisions that they're considering because this is a lot of money that they're committing to. They need to understand what it is. They need to ask questions. They need to digest it. It's scary to commit this much money to anything, especially something that we don't want to have happen. So we need to urgently move at their pace. And that's really hard to do, right? Because some of them are really slow. But we need to remind them why they reached out in the first place. When we have that first conversation with them, they're telling us what their reasons are, and we need to hold on to that and remind them of that as we go through whatever calls or whatever emails or talks we have. And we just need to be there for them at that time. So now, another thing, I think I'm done with that one. Another thing is the people that never responded at all, right? They sent in a lead or they got referred to us, but they never ever communicated. We need to be careful with these because of the do not call rules that land after 90 days of a cold lead. We can't just keep calling people out of the blue because we could get in trouble for that. But we can have an email drip set up to reach out a few times a year with an option to schedule a reply. My email always has a link to my podcast on it, and I ask people please listen to and share my podcast. Um, my email always has that premium estimator that Mark created. So they and I tell them, hey, go look and see, what kind of premiums could be if we use these kind of variables. So I give them stuff to do if they open the email, right? And then with the ones we referred to us, we can be a little bit more active and persistent, or we can contact the referrer and say, hey, I never heard back from Joanne and Bill. Can you reach out to them and find out if they took care of this or if they still need help? And a lot of times I'll find out, oh, yeah, well, they're taking care of Bill's parents right now, so they can't talk about it. Okay, well, that makes sense. I don't know if Rhonda's on the phone, on the call, but Rhonda shared with us last week that she's calling the non-responders that were referred to her and just asking them, are you in a better position to start planning? When you reached out to us the first time, was it just for a quote? Was it to get help reviewing your current policy, or did you just want some education or some materials? And I think she brought back a few people to the table by doing it that way. So it's just finding unique ways to just, get back to these people that disappeared. But the key is to keep the process moving, right? Even when we don't feel like it. Don't wait till you have no one to talk to.
If I
Don't
can,
call it. Hey,
hey, how are you? I'm
good.
going to chime in and add to it. So,
Yeah.
basically, because it is slow, right? And I'm just going through a bunch of people that never did respond, never set up appointments. And to your point, I just called them and said, sometimes we get really busy and we use the automation, the texting, the emailing, those drips to go. And so I just called them and said, hey, you know what? You inquired and never talked to you. In this automation world, I wanted you to know I'm a real person. I am here to help. How can I be of assistance? Or if you already got this taken care of. And surprisingly, I did get two or three people, and I got another one today that all of a sudden responded and scheduled. So
Awesome.
you just never, like you said, you just never. And the other thing is, you don't know what people's going on in their life. So a lot of people are checking into it because they may be dealing with family. Well, it may be so overwhelming dealing with family that they just can't get to looking into it, but they know they want to. So you never know when it's going to be a good time. So I love your idea of doing the Sunday setup and just say, hey, I want to touch base and work through my list throughout the week. I love that idea. It's great.
Yeah. Otherwise, they frustrate you. You're just looking at him like, this person's never going to talk to me. Ugh. It's like rather just have them over here and when I have time, go reach out to them. So, and it seems like we have more time right now than we had in other months. So, so we can reach out to more people. So, so yeah, so some things that you can do to stay in front of them regularly, of course, is newsletters. I used to try to do newsletters and it's too much work for me. I use my podcast. It's 10 minutes a week and I answer a question about long-term care in 10 minutes and people and not as many people listen to it as I would like. But every time I look, I'm like, okay, well, look, 25 people listen to that episode. And I'm like, all right, that's 25 people. They're even if they don't ever come to me, I never know who they are, they're learning, right? And I'm helping them be able to plan for their future. And every now and then, I'll hear from a client that says, "Oh, I listened to 5 or 6 of your podcasts. I thought it was really good. Have you ever done one about this?" I'm like, "Oh no, that's a good idea." So I get feedback. I have gotten two or three people just out of the blue contact me as a result of the podcast, and they became clients. That's not my intent. That was my intent at the beginning, but more so, I use them to build my credibility. And so when I'm talking to clients, I'm telling them, "Hey, go listen to this. Hey, this episode from, you know, July 2nd last year answers your question. Here it is, listen to it," kind of thing. So it builds my credibility with them and they hear my voice more and more. So then when they talk to me, they already recognize me. Somebody asked what's the podcast? It's called Preparing for Tomorrow. So, and it's got my picture on it. So podcast birthdays, reach out to them on their birthday. I'm fortunate that my husband is a songwriter, so he writes me a new song every year for my clients, and I send them a birthday song. I send those to prospects as well now, not only because I want to reach out to them for their birthday, but I like people listening to my husband's music because that could turn into something someday too. Who knows? And the stuff that they've shared with me, like if you know when their anniversary is, they got a kid graduating from college in May of 2026, make a note to yourself to call up and congratulate them for finally being done with that. And then um, when you call them for business or referrals, because you've reached out to them on all these other times, they're accustomed to hearing from you. So it's not just a, hey, can I sell you something, right? Because they hear from you on a regular basis. And then work your network, right? When you don't have as many people to talk to with sales, go meet the home care agency. Go talk to the payroll company to see if they can set up something for groups for work site plans. Meet with the assisted living placement company and get introduced to the kids of the people being placed. Meet with the brokers who sell and buy businesses. Ask your 75-year-old clients if their children have planned yet, because your 75-year-old who bought this 10 years ago knows the importance of it. How come their kids haven't started planning yet? So, there's all kinds of little things you can do because you stay in touch more continually, that you're not just feeling like that salesperson. And that's about all I have. So in the notes, in the chat, Jason, I'm thinking there's probably some stuff.
Yeah. Well, Gene made a really good point too, saying, having an aging book of business and a lot of it with Genworth, I get updates in my portal about new claims. And not all of us on this call have, a large amount of probably near claim age folks, but I thought that was a really good kind of practical piece and just getting involved in the
Mhm.
family aspect of that and immersing yourself in the claim can certainly help you become more referable at the end of the day. And really that like the back end of things there and really being involved there is where you can really drive home your value as a long-term care specialist and really you know, get people to understand your value and how others can take advantage of it, not just on the front end.
This is Jim Bosley.
Yeah, hey Jim.
Yeah, pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're not the intended audience. Um, but yeah, it anybody else kind of like Rhonda or like Jean have anything that really works for them in downtime that you think would be really helpful for the group to know, or any other questions that you have for Diane? We had folks ask about the CRM that you use and your podcast. I kind of filled them in there. Um, I think one of the things I'll add, Diane, is I spoke about kind of your approach and how you take notes. You're not taking notes on the same things everyone else is. You will take a note on the anniversary of a couple you're meeting with versus just kind of taking their ages, dates of birth, and health info, right? Because that's a super important piece for you to be able to kind of reach out. Um, but I think that also helps because when we get in these downtime periods, we make it all about ourselves, right? Why is my business slow? Why are people not doing business with me right now? Why is nobody calling me right now? Right? Things of that nature. And if we can focus on them and have empathy for their situations and know that we still have a job to do and we still really need to help these folks, I think that really helps take some of the emotional distress out of having a slow period. And you and I have, um, kind of a unique relationship where we've met every single Monday for, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now,
I don't know.
close to that, a very long time. And I see the cycles with you live and in color, every single week. And you could have a week where you're like, man, things just stink right now. It's just like very, very slow. And the next week you're like, I have so many applications to take, I can't even keep it all straight, right? When it rains, it pours, and when it's dry, you're really, really thirsty, right? But I think if we can, yeah, just I think know that that's going to be part of it and stick to the routine, like your baseball analogy. They
Mhm.
interview any slumping hitter in MLB, they're gonna ask, how are you going to set things right? And they say, I just need to stick to my process, right? If we
Mhm.
stay even, our mood stays a lot more even too. And that's really, really important when you're, kind of in a stressful situation like that. Sharon asks, do you do a newsletter and or email drips? And I know you do a couple of things beyond just the podcast and the birthday songs, things of that nature. So if you want to share with folks what you're doing
Yeah,
there.
so yeah, I don't do newsletters. I do have a for my clients. So this isn't really for prospecting, although my clients share it with other people. They tell me. Um, I do every Friday. I have a Friday story, which has nothing to do with insurance or anything. It's just a happy story or a sad story or something that I find. Every Friday, I send a story. It goes out to about I think 700 or 750 people now. And when they add them to the list, I tell them, hey, feel free to share this, with whoever you want to share it with. It has a link to my podcast in it. But I don't say here, I'm selling you something, right? It might be a story. Um, the one for this week, I think, is about a mom that takes her kid with Down syndrome out to a restaurant. And sometimes people look down or look over weird or stuff like that. But one person came up and said, I really respect all the work that you're doing, and I love this little girl. She has so much potential. And that just made the mom cry. I'm like, oh, that's a good story for a Friday story, right? So I send that out to all my people. Um, and when I add them to the list, I tell them, hey, You don't have to reply to me if you don't want to, but a lot of my clients know that I'm going to reach out to them every Friday and they can use that and reply to me and tell me, hey, I changed my address. Here's my new address. Hey, I changed my phone number. Hey, I need to change my bank account. What can I do? Hey, I have my sister wants to talk to you. And I put all that in that email when I say I'm adding you to the Friday story. And I do get responses every now and then from the, hey, my sister wants to talk to you, right? So it's doing something. So it's just having a bunch of little things that you do all the time, and sometimes some of them are going to work. And I did quit doing the Friday story about, I don't know, 12 years ago or so. I just got tired of it. And about 3 weeks later, I started getting emails from a bunch of people like, hey, where's my Friday story? Like, okay, okay. So I've never missed a Friday story since then because people got upset when they didn't get it. So it's just a happy little thing, or like I said, that people get. But it's just another way to touch people. If you got your own unique way that you can reach out and touch people and it feels personal to you and to them, do it and keep doing it. Whether it gets results or not, it's getting results whether you see them or not. It's building your credibility and it's keeping you out in the community.
Yeah, and I can mirror that because the agendas and recordings to the study groups, have an inordinate amount of people contact. I'm still surprised at how many people reply to just the study group agendas or recordings, and maybe that's because they haven't heard from me in another way in a while, or I'm right there in the inbox, so it's so easy to hit reply and say, I have one opportunity or another, or just to say, hey, Jason, I hope you have a nice holiday around the holidays, or sorry, I've been away for a while and haven't been able to watch the study group, but I'm here plugging away, and I'm sure you'll see me show up soon. Those little things just come from consistent, like clockwork messaging.
Hmm. Right.
And I think that's a good challenge to kind of give the group if you find yourself in a period of downtime, slowness, whatever, instead of letting it eat you up or twiddling your thumbs or annoying that prospect you probably contacted too many times just asking to buy. I would try to set up something that is just kind of a regular communication that's not sales related to try to maybe just help your communication, help your outreach, and as an added bonus, potentially help your lead generation or help to shake the trees a little bit for you automatically. I
Hmm.
think especially if you're having several several close together periods of downtime, I would try to open up the lead gen part of things a little bigger in ways that are not soliciting, right? Think about maybe an education campaign you can run for a bit. I mean, beyond just reaching out to folks and trying to get them back in, you can work on trying to get the next wave of folks because we all have um, so much differing experience on this study group. We've got folks who are a bit newer to the business with not a huge client base, and we've got those of us who have been in the business for a long time who have existing clients that we can do a lot of interfacing with and value creation for. So I would just encourage you to try to think of something you can do to reach out to folks that is um, not going to make you seem like a solicitor, but somebody who is just there to provide you some value, some education. Anybody else
Right.
have any questions for Diane or thoughts or an approach or specific situation that you're in that she can weigh in on? Mark, what do you do when business is slow?
Business
It's
is
never
slow.
slow.
Uh, no, I think I'm a LinkedIn guy. So I actually just go on there, do like a little market research and just start connecting with people. And that stirs up some opportunities and some interest. So from that perspective, I'm never bored because I always have LinkedIn on my phone and I can just connect like wherever I am. So I
Yeah.
call it the LinkedIn game. It's kind of a hobby now.
Yeah, and the thing you said about your podcast, Diane, that like two or three people have actually come through to you and become clients. When we're in those slow periods, wouldn't we give anything for 2 to 3 extra people to come through our door, even if only 1 out of 3 became clients? Howard's asking if your business is limited to long-term care.
I about 90% of my work is long-term care. So I'll do Medicare supplements as my clients age in. I don't like the Medicare Advantage, so I don't mess with that. And I'll do a term life here and there. And an annuity. I have some annuity clients, so when their annuities mature, I'll help them find another one. But I don't focus on any of that. My long-term care is my business,
Yeah.
which is a long, long cycle. You just got to get used to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, part of it is just kind of that mental preparation, right? This is going to happen. This is what I signed up for in this business. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean I have to sit there and take it at all times, but I do have to be accepting of that fact. Mark said I should add that a lot of my downtime, yes, that's true. Mark does invite people to our study groups, which is an ongoing thing like clockwork that people can attend or not, that they will hear about and have a chance to talk to us, right? So I I think just that kind of, I don't want to call it a net. It's friendlier than a net, right? It's just a, we're going to be here hanging out anyway. I'm going to be here hanging out anyway. I'm going to be putting this communication out anyway. So if you find it valuable, stick around and see what we have to say. If not, you don't have to be a part of it, but it's just a way for me to keep in touch with people, right? And that's the most important thing. I think it takes you from solicitor to educator. And that's one
Mhm.
of the most important things to being a trusted consultant that's in any business. Um, Romeo says, I get all my business by referral, so I call on those sources as they forget about long-term care. SNFs and ALFs send folks to me to help with questions or claims, so I call them during Slack time too. That's, yeah, super good. I love the point you made, Diane. Kind of like what Romeo's saying about calling your referrers, see if there's any updates, education you can provide them to help them be a better referrer, right? Training those referrals partners is really good. Hey, what extra training can I get from you? Right? Just another reason to reach out to those folks who are all important to our lead generation. Meredith asks if you have any good go-to sites for long-term care articles, Diane.
I don't specifically, Mark might, but I read a lot of articles and when I find one that hits me, I save it. And I just keep them. And then, like I have my quarterly Sunday people. I got about 40 of them. I'm gonna type up something. I'm gonna send them all the same article, but I'm gonna again go back to my notes and apply it to each person with a little bit of a tweak. But yeah, I just go and I watch and I look for articles that my clients might be interested in. Some of them are, some aren't, some read it, some don't. But if I just get that one extra from doing that one round of things, it's worth it.
Yeah. Mark's answer would be the Buddy INS Learning Center, which he has linked. Um, Not just articles from us, but articles from some of our close partners. Phil Shelton has a couple articles with us as well that are
Mhm.
really, really well done. Um,
Yep.
and
Sean Britt has some really good articles.
yep, 100%. Um, and reach out to your local publications, insurance publications, right? If you are on this call, I assure you, you are in the top 0.1% of people who are knowledgeable about long-term care in the entire world, not just in the country. So publications would love to hear your perspective about long-term care, especially if it's for an audience of financial professionals. Try to find a local publication that you can start a relationship with. Hey, I'd love to just take some time and write an article for you, you know? Um, I'll just, or maybe you've written something already. Hey, I've got something prepared. If you'd like to feature this in your publication, that's another way to get your name out there, right? Um, as kind of a trusted consultant or knowledge base on long-term care. And it's cool to just have written an article, right? I mean, it's a cool thing that helps further your business, get your name out there, but it's also something to kind of distract you from the fact that people aren't necessarily picking up the phone. Um, you know, being on the study group. That's another way to get your name out there, right? Uh, Folks like Rhonda and like Lori, CLTC master trainers, they help to bring up the next generation of long-term care specialists. Those are ways that you can contribute to your industry legacy beyond just kind of furthering your name. You help to contribute to long-term care issues as a whole by having more professionals in this industry. So I think it's think outside the box, think outside yourself, and it happens to everyone. So don't let it affect your mood any more than necessary, right? There are so many different ways that were shared here that are very, very practical to still keep working on your business, even if the business feels like it's working too slow, right? And I think that's it. Oh, Wendy mentioned Chamber of Commerce. Romeo mentioned CPAs. We got some publications shared in the chat. So thank you all for, volunteering what works for you and some of the sources that really help. But there is so much abundance. Mark put in the chat that 3% of Americans own long-term care, and the other 97% aren't uninsurable or not financially qualified, right? So there's a lot of abundance. There's a lot of room. I think don't be too hard on yourself. Just think about areas that you can improve during that downtime, right? We could all use that no matter what level of success we're at in this industry. Anything else you want to leave everybody with, Diane?
Just keep going. It's going to come back. It always does, and it'll come back stronger if we stick with it. It'll all come back.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I think I'm going to leave it there. That will do it. I don't think we have Gretchen today. She is not able to join us. Mark, you have anything you want to share as the marketing substitute?
Sure. Just a couple of things. I mentioned at the beginning of the session, I'll be at the ILTCI conference. So for those of you that will be there, definitely try to stop by the Twilight Wish booth, which will be right by the front. They're the endorsed charity for ILTCI, meaning that if you donate to Twilight Wish, ILTCI is going to match your donation. And just a great cause. Patty, thanks for introducing me to them originally, and I'm on their board of directors now. So if you want to get involved and give back, Twilight Wish is kind of like Make-A-Wish for seniors, low income, veteran seniors. They're kind of granting, the wishes that they've always wanted, or even providing them with like hearing aids and things that they need that they can't get themselves. So definitely be a part of that. And you can also use that as a marketing tool. So like, Diane's talking about, downtime and how do you get in front of people, talk about the causes you're involved with. Doesn't have to be insurance. They're going to want to be involved in helping these causes as well. And you're going to build that affinity and relationship. So use your relationship with Twilight Wish to your marketing advantage. And then besides that, don't forget to go to the Buddy System portal because there is a marketing section there as well where you can download some great PDFs and pieces like the articles that Diane's talking about that you can just share. That's another great way is just to download what we've already created for you that you can share with clients. And our goal is not to promote Buddy, it's to help you elevate your business. So yeah, if there's anything we could do to customize it, we created some of them and where you can add your contact information, etc. Just let us know how it can help you.
I hear there are new pieces on the horizon very, very soon, and there are definitely some new tools on the horizon, which I'm sure we will be taking the time to demo on the study group that we're really excited about. But other than that, that's it. Diane, thank you so much again for the time. Thank you for everybody who volunteered what's working for you or what questions you have where you feel stuck. Just love the practical advice that you give. And, we make these things more complicated than they are, but that doesn't mean there aren't still things that we can pull from it and learn from. So thank you for the topic choice. I thought that was awesome.
All right, anytime.
And for the rest of you, be well. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you this time next week. Have a good one.